Hi, Robin. My name is Ellen, and I'm going to be correcting this essay for you today. Let's get straight into it and see what you have written here. Okay, the topic is about eating too much fast food, and if the government should impose a tax on this kind of food. It's a "to what extent do you agree or disagree" essay, so let's see what you said. In many countries, people are more into junk food. Even though it is super unhealthy, people are addicted to this kind of diet. Some say the colossal number of people are surviving on fast foods, so it's impossible to tax food stock. However, I believe that imposing taxes will have some assistance in leading to proper health. This essay will discuss both the view as well as proffer a justification for my viewpoint. All right, so let's talk about this introduction. Let's start with something easy, actually. Take a look at where your introduction ends. It ends at the very end of the line. And then your first paragraph starts. Now, one of the elements that goes into your coherence and cohesion score is your ability to paragraph effectively and appropriately. So if you're missing a paragraph, or if you have too many paragraphs, or it's not clear where your paragraphs begin and end, then that's going to be a problem for your coherence and cohesion score. That is what's happened here, because you can see that the way the text runs, it's not clear where one paragraph ends and one paragraph begins. So this would definitely lower your coherence and cohesion score. The good news about this is that it's a really, really simple fix. All you have to do is just make sure that you leave a line in between each paragraph. It's the clearest, easiest way to do it. So just hit enter, an additional time, so that you leave a space here. Like even here, this is okay. It's clear where the paragraph ends, but still, it's the most effective thing if you just leave an extra line there. So that's one thing. Another thing is that I thought a lot of your language was too informal. Now, IELTS is not it's not an academic, like a straight academic essay, okay? But you still do want to stick to a more neutral to formal style, okay? Rather than using expressions and language that might seem a little colloquial or a little maybe informal. So let me show you what I mean here. You said people are more into junk food. This is slang. We don't really use this in an essay like this. I'm really into something. It's not considered a formal language for sure. Okay, so that needs to be changed. You could have said something like, in many countries, people are eating junk food more and more. That would have been okay. Um, And then here, even though it is super unhealthy, this too is really very casual language. And so you want to make it a little more formal, a little more appropriate here. And again, easy fix. It could just be, even though it is extremely unhealthy. Now, then I thought that this sentence was a little, you had too many parts to it, too many clauses. So in many countries, people are eating junk food more and more, even though it is, you know what? Look, you've got, with this idea, these two ideas should have been attached to each other. Let's look at how I would have suggested writing this sentence. In many countries, people are eating junk food more and more, with many people addicted to this kind of diet, even though it is extremely unhealthy. Okay, because these two ideas are really related to each other. This one here, this one here. All right, and then you could have put this one where there's contrast last. So that's a more logical idea. It reads better. It's a more coherent sentence, okay? All right, and then another thing here is that you don't want to use contractions in IELTS essays because they too are considered informal. So write the words fully out. Okay. So, and then the rest of it was fine. let's start here now in your new paragraph. This essay will discuss, I already read that, sorry. Some argue that imposing a tax on fast food will have a detrimental effect on people. The number one, is that what you mean to say here? The number one reason for this is most of them will die of hunger. For instance, in Western provinces, 90% of the population daily depends on junk food. So if the food stock is taxed, many people will perish, and this will lead to colossal economic damage. Therefore, proponents of this view believe that health is secondary. Okay, so let's see if I understand this. You're saying that without fast food, people won't have food to eat. Is that correct? And then let me see this. Let me just make sure I understand. So they depend on this food. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. I would have liked maybe a little extra piece of information. So, I mean, I think it's very interesting. Why do they depend so much on junk food? All right, something like that would have been interesting. Let's see. There was something else that I want to talk to you about here. Oh yeah. So you said that if the food stock is taxed, many people will perish, and this will lead to economical damage. Well, I mean, that's for sure, yes, but it doesn't lead just economical damage. It's like a humanitarian crisis. It's when people are dying, it's not just the economical damage of their death, but it's like the humanity of it is just, it's tragic. So I think you could have said a little more about that. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is, it's always said that IELTS is not an ideas essay, it's a language essay. And yes, that's true. But there's some times where you want to make sure that the examiner understands that you have the language to express what you want to express. Okay, sometimes, like this with economical damage, it almost feels like you would have liked to say more. You could have said more, but maybe some sort of limitation in your language prevented you from doing so. And so that's why I'm making a point of this. Okay, so rather than just focusing on the economical damage of the death of many people, you probably should have maybe used some other sort of word or collocations or expressions here. Okay, but the rest of it is lovely. I mean, look at this. Proponents of this view believe that health is secondary. That's a lovely sentence. Okay, don't forget a comma here after all, though. Let me see one thing here. Okay, now on the other hand, is fine, but remember that you always have to use it with on the one hand. These two go together. So if you've only used one, it's better not to use it at all, okay? They either go as a pair or not at all. So if you want to use something else that shows contrast, so that you're changing sides in your argument, you could use something else like in contrast, okay? Or that being said. So these would be fine here. All right, let's try that. That being said, I agree with the statement that fast food should be taxed. The primary reason is many young teens and children are prone to diseases. Consuming fast food is very convenient, not super comfortable. That's the wrong vocabulary word. And again, I told you it's a little informal, so I would avoid it. So consuming fast food is very convenient and it saves time. However, it has some drawbacks. For instance, Stanford University conducted a study on fast foods, and they reported that by 2050, under 18 children will suffer from diabetes, hypertension, coronary heart diseases. So to reduce the effects, the government should take steps to educate parents and children in regards to eating fast foods and a sedentary lifestyle. Ultimately, it is better to increase the tariff on fast food stocks, as this benefits future generations at least. Okay. In conclusion, many believe that The consumption of fast food saves time. Nevertheless, in future, I sincerely wish that the government would take responsibility by increasing the fares of fast food, by which this would help sustain better health in succeeding generations. Okay. Let me look at your, let's see. I believe that imposing taxes will have some assistance. Okay, fine. All right. So this is good. This is good. A lot of it is very natural. A lot of it is nice high-level language. You certainly answered the question. Let me see something. All right, there are a few things that I want to point out, though, about this essay that, make it need a little work. Okay, so first of all, some of the grammar was inaccurate. All right, you could see that throughout the essay there were some things I had to correct, and I had to correct them consistently enough. So it's not like a one-off or here and there that there were some grammatical mistakes. However, what was correct was lovely. It was very good. You did have some really nice vocabulary, but then again, there were a couple of places where the vocabulary wasn't consistent. Okay, so it's the consistency I want you to be careful of. Like I said, some really nice pieces of language, but then some errors throughout the essay. So that's one thing. We talked about the coherence and the cohesion, both with the linkers. We also talked about how to paragraph appropriately. So that's another thing. But now I want to talk to you a little bit about task achievement and why you may want to rethink how you develop this answer. So this is a question about to what extent do you agree or disagree? And your thesis here, look at this. This is what you are claiming. You're saying imposing tax will have some assistance in leading to proper health. This essay will discuss both the view. I don't know what you mean by this, both the view. Well, this essay will discuss both of you as well as proffer justification for my viewpoint. Okay, so based on your thesis statement here, you're only going to argue one side of the essay. Okay, that's what it sounds like here. And yet, your first paragraph is something very different. Here, you're telling us why this tax would be a terrible idea. Now, it's okay to talk about both sides in a to what extent do you agree or disagree essay. In fact, I actually like it. I think it leads to a richer, maybe more mature kind of analysis of the topic. However, if you're going to do that, you need to explain to the examiner why. So this sentence then is not enough in your introduction, that I believe imposing taxes will have some assistance in leading to proper health. Okay, you need to spell it out a little more. You need to say that while I believe such a tax may have a damaging effect on some areas of the population, on the whole, I believe imposing tax will lead to proper health. Okay, because that is actually a much more accurate statement and a more accurate blueprint, essentially, of what your essay is about. And that's what you want your thesis statement to do. You want it to reflect what your paragraphs actually talk about. Okay, because without that, you've got this paragraph here that kind of comes out of nowhere. We're like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. That's interesting. So you don't want that to happen. You want it to be clear what the elements and what the paragraphs of your essay are going to talk about. Now, looking at this as well, remember I spent some time talking about economical damage. I would say something else here. I would also say be careful with the development of this paragraph because it seems much shorter than this paragraph by at least 2 or 3 lines. You don't have to be obsessive with this, but you still do want to aim to have paragraphs of roughly equal length because this way it shows that you're developing them equally and not spending more time on one side of the argument than the other. All right, so Robin, that brings us to the end of this correction. I hope that the information gives you, the tools to progress and to continue with IELTS. In the email you'll get from us, you'll see links to ways you can work with us and the different kind of packages we have available. So do look into it. I'd actually like to see you on the online course. I see you've got good grammar, but I think you do need some support in terms of structure, in terms of expressions, in terms of really creating a cohesive and really well-developed essay. So take a look at that. See if that's something that works for you. And I look forward to seeing you on one of our courses. Good luck to you.